What's up, YouTube? Taryn from Team 937 here, coming at you with a Magician Pendulum deck profile with the new stuff released and the booster set Pendulum Evolution, which, in my opinion, should have been released as a structure deck like it was in OCG. But without further ado, got one of the better cards in the deck. Your triple Wisdom Eye Magician. Wisdom Eye basically says if there's a pendulum effect, if there's another magician monster in your pendulum zone, you can pop this or destroy this card and place one magician pendulum from your deck to the pendulum scale. It's really good to either open up two of this or this on one of the sorcerers, because the sorcerers can pop themselves out to put the magician counterpart in the scale, and it synergizes so well with this card, especially now that it's back to 3. Next card we have for you is triple Performapal Skullcrabat Joker. Joker is one of my favorite cards to open with because I can normal summon him and add my Wisdom Eye and just continue to make plays, or I can add one of what I call the cosplay dragons, which are the ones that are needed to summon the boss monster of the deck. It's too good not to play. Well, that's for just those two. Now we get to the new stuff. We've got triple Harmonizing Magician. Just make sure it's not. Yeah. This thing about LCG was Toon Magician. I didn't think this card was coming out this so soon. I thought it was going to be in like a Shonen Jump or something. Like we weren't going to get it cheap. No, out of the booster box I opened, I pulled 8 of this card. This card's too easy to pull. But it's like the best tuner in the deck. Because if you Pendulum Summon it, and I suggest Pendulum Summoning it in defense, you can summon any level 4 Magician from your deck. It's either an instant rank 4 or an instant level 8 synchro play. It's really good. And if it's in the scale, all your monsters, they don't even have to be magicians or spellcasters. They gain 100 attack points for every face-up magician in your extra deck with a different name. Yeah. Now we get to one of my favorite cards are sorcerers. You got triple Astrograph Sorcerer. This sorcerer is good because when something you control is destroyed, you can special summon it from your hand, and then if it was a monster that was destroyed, you can add one copy of that monster from deck to hand. Its pendulum scale effect is you can destroy this card and either special summon or put in scale Stargazer Magician. And then my favorite of the two sorcerers, just because I think he looks like a badass, is your 3 Chronograph. Now, people don't agree with 3 Chronograph, but he's, in my opinion, the better of the two, because when he's special summoned, just like when this one is, when something's destroyed, he special summons any monster from your hand. And then when he's in scale, you can just pop him out of scale to put either place in or summon Time Gazer Magician. And they both have the same effect where you can banish a copy of them and one Fusion Synchro Xyz and Fusion Dragon to summon Supreme King Zarc. And it makes summoning Zarc so much easier than what the Zarc Turbo was that I used to have that I didn't think was good enough to do a deck profile on. So, yeah. But if you guys would like me to put it back together and do a profile on it, let me know in the comment section below. Now we get into what Nick calls the pseudo dragons. I call them the cosplay dragons. You got your double. I'm just going to call it Violet Poison because that's what it is in the OCG, and it sounds a lot better in my opinion, but its name in TCG is Purple Poison Magician. It's a really, really good card because when it leaves the field, either monster or in the pin zone, because it doesn't matter, it destroys a card. And then when it's in the pin scale and Dark Spellcaster is attacking, you can pop it out of scale and give them an extra 1,200 attack points. It's just like really, really good. And then you got your Odd Eyes version of it. You've got double Iris Magician, which could have just stayed Iris Magician and I wouldn't complain. But when he leaves the field or destroyed, he gets to add a Pendulum Graph, which is the spell in the trap, to your hand. Yeah. And then 2 of Dark Rebellion's counterpart, Black Fang. When he's destroyed, he special summons a spellcaster from Dark Spellcaster from the graveyard. And his effect in the scale is you can half your opponent's opponent monster's attack points, and if you do destroy this card, his for that is you can do double battle damage that turn, any Dark Spellcaster. And then the one that's not as good as the other 3, but I still play 2 of it too, is White Wing Magician. It's just basically a tuner, and it says when if it's pendulum summoned, you banish it if it's used as synchro material. But its pin effects, it's not that bad. If something is activated that targets a spellcaster monster you control, you can negate it, and if you do, destroy this card and that card. Yeah, it's really good to combo off of harmonizing. I mean, it's really good. And they all don't have to be destroyed, so there's a spell card in here, Pendulum Call. If you have them in the scales and you activate their effects, like Dark Rebellion, they still lose half their attack points, but Dark Rebellion doesn't get destroyed. It's that broken. It's retarded, in my opinion. But yeah, that's the new cosplay dragons. Now, onto the old stuff. You got singles monsters. You've got Time Gazer Magician and Stargazer Magician. He kind of got wiped up in the White Wings. These two are like the OG pendulums. You can summon this guy or put him in scale using Astrograph Sorcerer. You can do it with this one. If you have Chronograph Sorcerer in scale, you can either summon it or put it in scale. Odd Eyes Pendragon, just because you can pop something with Iris and search for it, or it's Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. It's a really good card. And then Oath Dragon Magician. This is the last on the monsters, and I suggest you play at least one copy of Oath Dragon because Harmonizing Magician says if it's in the extra deck, you can't pin summon it from the extra deck. It's stuck there. Oath Dragon in scale says if there's another magician in the scale, you can add one pendulum monster face up from your extra deck to your hand. So Oath helps you recycle her. Yeah, that's it for monsters. I don't know the count. It's pretty high. It's a monster heavy deck, but when you're trying to summon this thing, you're trying to summon Supreme King Zarc. I mean, I was finally able to get my mat. Yeah. Now on the spells, you got your 3 ofs. Only 3 of in the deck. Pendulum Call. To activate this card, you have to discard a card. You get to add 2 magicians from your deck with different names. It could be any combination of the Cosplay Dragons, or Stargazer and Time Gazer, or Wisdom Eye, or Harmonizing Magician. You can search all of those with this. You just cannot search Joker or the Sorcerers. That's it. You search everything else with Pendulum Call. Yeah. And if this is activated and you add them to hand, you can't have activated a spell or a pendulum effect already, and they can't be destroyed until the end of my opponent's next turn. So it's really good, especially if you combo off with the trap, because then you try to destroy them, and the trap says, well, you just target them for destruction. You target a card your opponent controls for destruction, and if it's not one of the 2 is not destroyed, you get to send something from field to grave. Yeah. And then you got another searcher. Duelist Alliance, you search a pendulum monster or a pendulum spell or trap, so you can search your pen call or your pendulum graphs. And there's actually a weird ruling with Double Iris Magician. Since he's always treated as a pendulum dragon, he is searchable because he is technically a pendulum monster. It's weird. Oh, and if you can't already tell, Violet Poison's always a fusion, and the White Wing's a synchro, and Black Fang's a Xyz dragon at all times. Yeah. Duelist Alliance is a good card. And then the only card I have the name Fusion in it is 2 Odd Eyes Fusion. Because, the only Odd Eyes Fusion we run is Vortex, because Vortex isn't a bad card. It shuffles back a face-up pendulum from deck to negate something, and when it's summoned, you put something in face-up attack back to its opponent's hand. It's just ridiculous. Ridiculously good, especially if you've got a Harmonizing Magician in there and you don't have your Oath Dragon yet. You can just spin it back to negate something. 2, Lore of Darkness. Draw card. It's self-explanatory why a lore. It's a good card. And then Sky Iris, because field spell, protects your magicians in the scale, and you can pop an Odd Eyes card. Pop 1 face-up card you control. Now onto the spell and the trap from the new stuff. You've got Star Pendulum Graph and Time Pendulum Graph. These cards are really good if you have them both on the field, because this one has to destroy a magician to destroy. It doesn't have to, but you target to destroy a Magician Pendulum monster you control, and a card your opponent controls, and if you don't destroy one of them, you send one card from field to grave. I was actually facing Nick last Saturday at our locals when I went 3-2 with this deck. I got 10th place out of almost 25 to 30 people, and if my tiebreakers had just been a little better, I'd have topped. He had a Necroz monster. I think it was Necroz of Unicorn and Sanju of the Thousand Arms. I might have got that name wrong. It's just Sanju, the one that only adds, I think it's a monster, or I don't know. Anyway, I had this, and I had Violet Poison in scale. This was face down, and this was face up. So when he summons Unicorn, I flip Pendulum Graph, and activate effect to destroy Violet Poison and his Unicorn. Violet Poison, when it's destroyed, it destroyed his Jew, and then he used Necroz a Gungnir to stop Unicorn from being destroyed. Well, the second part of the trap kicked in then, and I got to send it to the graveyard anyway. It's just that freaking broken. They're really good. And that's it for main deck. 42 cards in the main deck. Now let's get on to the extra. It's more Synchro and XZs oriented, but there's a bunch of rank 7s in here. You're never going to make them. Well, you can't make Raging Dragon or Rebellion Dragon, but you can make Big Eye. Well, let's start with the fusions. The boss monster, 1 Supreme King Zarc. When he must be fusion summoned, can't be fusion summoned by other ways. Destroys everything your opponent controls on summon. He can't be targeted by your opponent, can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. And if he's destroyed by battle or card effect, he goes to the pendulum scale, and if he attacks to destroy something, he summons a Supreme King Dragon from hand, deck, or extra deck. Yeah. Zarc. And then the only other fusion, Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, because, well, when it's summoned, it puts a face-up attack position monster your opponent controls in his hand, and if they attempt to negate it with something that's not a counter trap, you can spend a face-up pendulum to stop it. It's, yeah, just broken. It's just a really good card. And then you got Synchros, which are Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, Ignister Prominence, the Blasting Draco Slayer, Ignister. And you've got Enlightenment Paladin. I'll explain why in a minute. And then the one that I really like, Beel's Diabolic Dragon. He's really good because he can't be destroyed by battle or card effect. If I take battle damage involving him, he gains it as attack points. And if I take burn damage whatsoever, he gains that as attack points too. Enlightenment Paladin allows you to abuse the hell out of Allure of Darkness. Like, there have been times I've activated both Allures in one turn, summon Paladin using Magicians, which is all this deck is, except the Sorcerers, and they can't be used to summon him, because it's 2 level 4s. And I just added a Allure back to hand and activated it for a third time, and just went from there. It was ridiculous. And then when he attacks and destroys something, inflict the attack points as damage. Original attack points. And then Ignister, everybody should know what Ignister does. Blow up a pendulum on the field to spend something my opponent controls back. Non-target. It doesn't even have to be my own pendulums. I could destroy my opponent's pendulums with it. And then Scarlight destroys every special summon monster that's 3,000 or less. And does 500 damage for each to my opponent. Yeah. The Synchros. Now we got the XZs. We'll do the 7s. Got Rebellion Dragon, Raging Dragon, and Absolute Dragon. Oh. Not the only one of these you'd actually ever make is Absolute, but I have yet to ever have to make it. I usually don't make the 7s. They're just here because if my opponent controls 2 monsters and I activate Odd Eyes Fusion, I can just send this and one of these to the graveyard to summon a Vortex Dragon. Yeah. Oh, my phone's dying. Speed this up. And then down to the rank 4s. Got what Nick calls the Utopia package. You got, Utopia, Prime, and Utopia. Then the only other number is Big Eye. Then on top of that, you play the new XZs. Time Star Magician. Time Star Magician is broke as all hell. If my Magician Pendulum card or cards would be destroyed, I can send a spellcaster from deck to negate. And he detaches to add a spellcaster from hand to hand, a dark spellcaster. And then on Eyes Rebellion, because I was actually facing a Cosmo player, and he had a Slip Rider in defense and a Forerunner in attack. I use this to take the Slip Rider's attack points and run it over. Right, not run over Slip Rider, but run over Forerunner for game. He had like 150 life points left. It was ridiculous. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. This has been Taryn from Team 937, signing out.